And today, ladies and gentlemen, let's put the spotlight on Chennai-born messaging app Aratai. If you've scrolled your social media feeds at least once during these past few days, then surely you would have heard about this new app. Aratai, which is a totally homegrown app from the stable of Zoho, is an alternative to messaging apps like WhatsApp. In fact, the app has already recorded a 100x surge in traffic in just the past few days. The app was launched in 2021, so Aratai isn't new, but it went viral recently after senior government ministers endorsed it and India's startup and venture capital community quickly adopted it. Union ministers Ashwini Vaishnav, Piyush Goyal and Dharmendra Pradhan joined the app, and that helped it gain traction. It essentially was tied to the Prime Minister's Swadeshi push to use India-made products. But that's not all. From the Zoho fold, there is another app called the Ola browser, which has also gained traction. In fact, it's taken over App Store rankings as well. The Ola browser is aimed at taking a similar sort of competition to Google Chrome on Android and iOS. But amidst the kind of search that both of these platforms are facing, the big question then is, can Aratai and Ola build on this momentum and scale? Well, to discuss that and more, let's bring on board Praval Singh. He's the VP at Zoho. All right. Thank you very much, Praval, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. First of all, congratulations for the kind of response that the app has received. Now, when you came up with the idea, did you think that the app would actually become a chart topper? And what do you think has really worked for Aratai in terms of the acceleration of the app's growth?
Thank you so much for having me here. Absolutely a great moment for all of us here at Zoho. And to be honest, the team has been at it for several years now. As a company, we have built one of the world's most, I would say, robust, scalable communication platform. And the consumer application, Aratai, is it sits on top of it, which the team has been working on several years. But yeah, this week is not how we were prepared to see all the surge, but very grateful that the fact that has happened. And what we are seeing this week, a lot of interest from people around, friends and family, beyond that, well-wishers. Pretty much everybody in India is now aware of what Aratai is. And that's keeping our teams on their toes to ensure that there is, we keep the app up and running, scalability, performance, all of that. At the same time, I think it's also, I would say, we're grateful for the opportunity and the wishes that we're getting. That also puts us in a spot of responsibility to do this well.
Right, absolutely, Praval. But, while it's great that Aratai is a homegrown app and it's being received so well, and truly it's a made in India moment for you. But when we look at some of the other innovations in the space of tech, one is instantly reminded of Koo, Josh, and Chingari, all of which essentially started off on a good note, but those apps could not scale well. So how are you looking at learning from some of those, instances that have happened in the past, and how are you looking at doing things differently?
Sure. So there are a few things to it. One is the fact that we've been in business for close to 30 years now, 3 decades of building technology applications, a lot of R&D work. And like I said, that same infrastructure is powering some of these apps, including Aratai, for example, our communications platform. So that kind of gives us the depth and breadth that is required to run something like this at scale. Number two, what we're doing now with Aratai is with a consumer flavor. We're a heavy B2B application company, private, profitable. So a lot of it that is needed to make it go big from here on is something we're aware of, equipped with, and prepared for. So that, I think, puts us in a in a position where we know of how we want to scale this up. Of course, no app is going to stick around unless it kind of becomes a daily driver for people who are using it. We are mindful of that as we speak. Even in terms of the kind of attention that we're getting, we know that apps that people use every day have to have that stickiness in them. And privacy, of course, is at its core, but features, capabilities, integrations is what we're going to work on and make sure that people continue to use it with same enthusiasm as they are today.
Absolutely, Praval. And talking about the enthusiasm, well, you've recently seen a 100x growth of the app on Play Stores of both Google and Apple. But talking about stickiness, how will you be looking at building this momentum from here on? The kind of innovations that you're bringing on the app to ensure loyalty amongst consumers, and of course, to compete with deep pocketed and widely entrenched platforms like WhatsApp.
Yeah, so like I said, I think we are probably one of the few companies where we say advertising is not a revenue model. So, and I think that is something that is, as a message, is sticking on the wall. More and more people today care about privacy than they did 5, 7, 10 years ago. Now, that's one of the differentiation. But having said that, the app, like I said, has to be a daily driver. For that, it has to be reliable, it has to be scalable, and it has to solve for daily needs. And on from that angle, we are bringing in integrations. For example, UPI and payments is something which is on the immediate roadmap. The team is working on bringing in payments within the application. There are other features and integrations that we want to bring in. If you look at it, for example, how do you manage a large group of people on Aratai, right? So the permissions, the controls, the size that, for example, is a society group or a group that is a nonprofit using Aratai as a preferred medium of communication. Features to manage those admin access, etc., is also something that we take very seriously because all these things make the app sticky. So that's the immediate plan in the next few months, and we'll continue to build more features around adjacent needs that will make the app sticky. So that's the plan as of now from what we see. And again, our tech capability and R&D progress kind of ensures that we'll be able to scale it up.
Right.
The way we have seen growth in the last week or two, we're prepared for much bigger growth in the future days, weeks, and months.
Right. So, Praval, we'll come to that point about, the kind of growth that the company is penciling in. But for the moment, what kind of capacity additions will you be looking at making in anticipation of the traffic on the app? And would you also be looking at taking the app global, just like Zoho, given the fact that this app is, at the moment, it's present in several languages other than the native Indian languages?
Yeah, so today we already support, and again, Indic language support is also one of the things we were very particular about. Aratai supports about 9 Indian languages already. We're going to continue to invest in this, and again, one of the ways in which we believe people will stick with the app. From a scalability perspective, yeah, provisioning is something that we immediately took up the moment we saw from our 5,000 users sign up to 20 lakhs user, and we are prepared for it to go to next 100, 200x. That's where we are looking at scaling up the infrastructure very, very rapidly, in fact, in the last 1 week. And we also know that what has happened because of the traction that we saw from word of mouth, from people tweeting about it or putting it on social media, sharing it as word of mouth, we've seen a surge. At this point, we are trying to ensure that people who come and sign up get that moment, but we'll continue to build on this.
Absolutely. In fact, we've seen union ministers also endorse the app. So let me ask you if there's a plan to collaborate with Indian handset manufacturers, telecom providers, or other ecosystem players to essentially strengthen your Made in India digital experience pitch.
So collaboration is something that we would continue to work on. In fact, even today, we work with Indus App Store. We update our apps regularly there, and if there is demand from the market for us to work with device manufacturers and telecom providers in India, we would definitely make it happen. And whatever it takes to make this app as a core daily driver for people in India, we would continue to do that.
Right. That's very good to know, Praval. But let's also talk about overall India's startup and tech ecosystem. It's considered as a startup hub, is the third largest globally. However, in terms of actual tech innovations, we've not been able to build the next Meta, the next Google. Why do you think that's been the case, and how can that be changed? Of course, Zoho is an exception. There are a couple of other companies which are exceptions. But largely, how can, this culture of entrepreneurship, this culture of innovation can really be given a push so that we can make world-class companies? And why do you think that's not really happened till now?
See, I think when we look at some of the examples that you came, some of them, especially the recent ones, are part of an existing ecosystem. They came out of one that was already built in the Silicon Valley, right? When you look at India, we've been able to build that ecosystem much later, but I won't say that doesn't exist today.
Okay.
I mean, in fact, as Zoho, a company that is proudly headquartered in Chennai, building software from India for the world, we've been managed to we've been able to create this ecosystem. A lot of SaaS companies are from India. Many of them are from in and around Tamil Nadu, I would say. So that ecosystem is slowly coming and starting to thrive. And most of these companies, if you look at it, are serving customers globally. Okay, they are serving customers globally, not just in India, including us. So that ecosystem is slowly and gradually picking up. What we would see is if more and more companies look at this as a long-term vision and focus on R&D and long-term tech know-how, building that know-how, I think that is when we will be able to see a company that, or more such companies where we would see a longevity in terms of how long they have been around, how much more they're able to influence, and then companies becoming from just an organization or a technology vendor to an institution. Right. That's how I would look at it.
Right. But one final question, Praval, before we essentially let you go. With what's happening around the world, I mean, you do have the US president essentially telling companies to invest more in America and to make America great again. Do you anticipate more protectionism across the globe? And how are companies like yourselves bracing for that?
Yeah, so there are two parts to this. One is, as a company, we serve customers in more than 150 countries. Right. You know, US is one of our top markets for that. In fact, the top most market for us currently, right. I would say. So we have customers there, we have data centers there, and we serve and we play by the law of the land, as I said. So that will continue to happen across regions for us, and I would assume for a lot of other vendors too. On the other side, I would also look at it as an opportunity for companies from within India to embrace the opportunity and the talent. India itself is a huge market for us. In fact, it's our fastest growing market today. Also the number 2 market. So there's a lot of opportunity for companies to build both talent and technology right from here in India. And we've been at the forefront of it for several years, and we'll continue to do that.
All right, you will continue to do that, and we'll keep banking on the domestic market right here in India, even though you expand all across the globe. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Praval, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now on the kind of growth that you're anticipating for the company.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that's a big one, and we'll have to see how that really changes the overall components ecosystem, the kind of push that it gives to domestic manufacturing. But ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to slip into a very short commercial break, but lots more coming up on the other side. You don't want to miss that, so stay tuned.